Welcome to our third program in honor of the Rebbe's 121st birthday, Yud Aleph Nisan. The last 2 weeks we had correspondence from people that wrote to the Rebbe answered, dignitaries, askonim, rabbonim, Rebbes, that send the Rebbe blessings in honor of his Yom Holedis. And then the second one we had last week, we had the 500 rabbis. Today I want to share with you a pekel over here that the Rebbe gave to Rabbi Mindel. I think it was through Rabbi Binyamin Klein, from the thousands of people from the entire world that send the Rebbe wishes for Arichas Yomim Vishonim Teves in honor of the Rebbe's Yom Holedis. Now, it's impossible to read all of them, so I'll choose whatever comes up. I'll choose what I'm going to read some. First, I want to share with you a statement from the governor. Now, at the end of this program, if I have time today, I want to share with you a letter from Rabbi Dvorkin that the Rebbe said, sent Rabbi Mindel, and that he should write to the Immigration and Naturalization Service. And he wrote it in Hebrew, and Rabbi Mindel translated in English. If we have time, if we don't have time today, then I will definitely read it next week. But first I want to read a statement of the governor, Lekovet de Yom Holedis. Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson came to the United States in 1941, whereupon he was appointed chairman of the executive committee governing organizations such as Merkez L'Nyoni Chinuch, the educational arm of the Lubavitch Chabad movement, Machne Yisrael, the Lubavitch Chabad movement's organ dedicated to the welfare of Jews everywhere, and Eitzera Hasidim, the Lubavitch Chabad publishing house. In 1950, Rabbi Schneerson was called upon to assume the leadership of the blossoming Lubavitch Chabad movement, which sponsors day schools, rabbinical seminaries, vocational schools, day and overnight camps, centers known as Chabad houses near universities, one of which is located at the University of Washington. The Rebbe founded numerous new institutions sprung forth and flourished, established religious offices around the world to keep watch at the heartbeat of Jewish life, inspired hundreds of young men to dedicate their lives to go out into Jewish communities to establish contact with the Jewish people and to help them find their way back to their heritage. To his many followers, the Rebbe personifies all the great Jewish leaders who led their generations through history, represents to them all that is near and dear in Jewish life, and is an inspiration and guide. Therefore, I, Dixie Lee Ray, he was the governor then, governor of the state of Washington, do hereby proclaim March 30th, 1977 as Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson's Day in the state of Washington, and join in honoring a man who has been a pillar of light and hope to Jewish youth, as well as Jewish leader of unique stature. Now this was given to the Rebbe. This is the seal that I found by Rabbi Mindel. This is, I think, was given to the Rebbe. Now, I want to, here we have, as you can see, a national scroll that was presented by the President of Congress, by the President and the Congress of the United States of America in tribute to vision and spiritual world leadership provided by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson Shlita, on the occasion of his reaching the 80th birthday. The scroll was issued in tribute to the Rebbe on his 80th year, this history document was signed by President Ronald Reagan in the Oval Office on March 24th, 1983, on the eve of the Rebbe's birthday, 11th of Nisan, and was later signed by the Speaker of the House. Both leaders, every member of the U.S. Senate, House of Representatives, culminating with the signature of Vice President George Bush, as you can see here. Now there are more proclamations. I can't show you all of them, of all different cities in the United States. This is from the office of the mayor of city of Milwaukee. This original. This is of state of Wisconsin. This is of the secretary of the governor of New York. These are the seal, the original. Now, I want to show you over here that here we have a photograph taken during the presentation of Rabbi Schneerson's gold medal. We have the gold medal over here that was given. This is an image of the Rebbe. This is the gold medal. It was given. This was given. It says here, benevolence, ethics, leadership, scholarship, Act of Congress, 1994. And they put the image. This is Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, and here, this was in 1994. And here is, it says, at the 103rd Congress of the United States of America, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. You are cordially invited to participate in a historic international tribute honoring the lifetime of the Rebbe and marking the presentation of the monumental award. So this is now here is a picture. This was President Clinton with Rabbi Mindel. Then this is a picture of, here is a picture that you can see in the back of Rabbi, behind Rabbi Mindel is Rabbi Gutnick Sr. And these are the delegations that came then to the, this is the delegations. Okay. Now, Rabbi Mindel was involved, the Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe, before anybody knew Washington, before the delegation, all the people that were here that you can see on this picture, before they even knew Washington, Rabbi Mindel was sent by the Frierdiker Rebbe to President Roosevelt, as I told you last week, that he was sent by the Rebbe with 4 more people to 500 rabbis, and probably more times. And here is from November 15, 1940, the White House, the secretary to the president, Stephen Earle, wrote to Rabbi Mindel, "My dear Mr. Mindel, the president has asked me to thank you for your very nice message of congratulation. We want you to know of his sincere appreciation." And then there's something that the Rebbe answered on that, but I don't have this in front of me right now. Now I want to read to you that there was a person by the name of Herman Wouk. Everybody heard of him. He was a famous author. He wrote a book everybody knows, "This Is My God." He was very close to the Rebbe. He was very close to Rabbi Mindel. And he did many shlichus from the Rebbe. We have, I don't know, maybe 30 or 37 letters correspondence between Herman Wouk and the Rebbe. So here is a letter that the Rebbe wrote to him, to Zelig Wouk, greeting and blessing. "This is to thank you again for bringing me the president's personal letter and wishes. It was a pleasure to receive it through such a distinguished emissary. I am sending you a copy of my letter to President Nixon. This is years ago. This is in 1970. I am confident that you delivered my personal acknowledgement, and indeed even more fully than it's possible to convey in writing. Inasmuch as these events took place in the present auspicious days before Pesach, I take this opportunity of extending to you and yours my best wishes for a kosher and inspiring Yontif. And then the Rebbe writes, Biksav Yad Kodshe to him, Uvesoichon uveruach Zman Cheiruseinu Habal Leinu L'Teiva, Hinne Meachel Lekveit Cheirus Amitis, Mikol Inyonim HaMevalvelim, Ba'avodas Hashem, B'simcha V'tuv Livov, B'chavod Uvivrocha. Here is the letter that the Rebbe sent to President Nixon that Mr. Walk was supposed to deliver. Mr. Richard Nixon, President of the United States, the White House, Washington, D.C., greeting and blessing. This is to convey to you, my dear Mr. President, my heartfelt appreciation of your kind felicitation and good wishes on the occasion of my birthday. I assume that your warm wishes were meant not for me alone, but for the 2 centuries-old movement which I am privileged to head and lead by the grace of divine providence, particularly for the principle and ideals to which our movement is dedicated and for the service it renders for a better world in this country and in other parts. Needless to say, as in the case of all living things, where growth and development are the sign of life, the vital program and services rendered by our movement must be continually expanded, especially to the field of education and youth work, where there is a crying need for this kind of public service, particularly in the present day and age. In the light of the above, I am profoundly indeed indebted to you, Mr. President, for your personal attention and warm sentiments and good wishes on this occasion, since this gives us the confidence that we have your sympathetic consideration and moral support, and may look forward to increase participation of the government and its agencies in this sphere of education and youth work. For this I thank you, Mr. President, no less gratitude than for your and Mrs. Nixon personal good wishes to me. May I add my prayerful wishes to you and Mrs. Nixon and all your family that you see the fulfillment of the divine promise to our patriarch Abraham. I will bless them that bless thee, in a very generous measure, and the Rebbe signs his name. Okay. Here we have, now this is for the White House. Also, I think it's very interesting. Now they used, in 1960, the Rebbe sent, this is a White House Conference of Children and Youth. And the President invites you, this is the Rabbi Mindel, to attend the meeting of the White House Conference for Children to be held December 13, 1970, Washington, D.C. This is the invitation that was sent. Now, these are the people that went then to the conference. This is the Golden Anniversary White House Conference and Children and Youth, 1960. And the Rebbe was very, very much involved. The Rebbe needed to know everything that's going on. Now, it says here, just to read to you 2 paragraphs, some 7,000 delegates from all parts of the USA, representing various natural organizations, were invited to a conference, as also some 500 delegates from overseas. The delegation of Chabad Lubavitch consists of Nissen Mindel, David Hollander, Jacob J. Hecht, Zalman Posner. Working closely with them were also Uriel Zimmer and Gershon Ber Jacobson, both in the capacity of correspondents. Now, here you have Rabbi Posner, Rabbi Hecht, Rabbi Zimmer, Rabbi Mindel, and Rabbi Hollander. And when they came back, they showed this picture to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe asked, where was Gershon Ber Jacobson? So they should have put him here also. This I know that Rabbi Mindel told me. He should have been in that picture. But then the Rebbe spoke as Eridocha Bahaltener, but the Rebbe wanted him to be in the picture, and then the Rebbe spoke whatever other things about that, but it's not important now. Here we have, these are all, okay, this is to Dr. Mindel, the President and Mrs. Carter invite you to reception on May 1st, 1978 at 2 o'clock in celebration of the 30th anniversary of the establishment of the State of Israel. Honored guest, His Excellency the Prime Minister of Israel and Mrs. Begin. Please present this message at Southwest Gate. So this is, let me see, this is, okay, so this is the invitation. The secretary, okay, to Dr. Nissen Mindel, but he actually could not make it then. So Jimmy Carter writes here, I was very sorry you were not able to attend the White House reception on May 1st, honoring the 30th anniversary of the State of Israel. Enclosed, you will find a copy of my remarks from this occasion, which I thought may be interested to you, and also a photograph which was taken at the event. Okay, so this is the time when Begin came then to the Rebbe also. This is Rabbi Binyamin Klein, this is Rabbi Nissen Mindel, Rabbi Chadakov, and as you can see the Rebbe is read. This is Begin. This is the time that they went to the President Carter. Here I have, Rabbi Mindel was very close. The Rebbe constantly was in touch with Washington through Rabbi Mindel and through these few people that I showed you before. Now, there's a letter here, a very short letter, that the Rebbe wrote to President Carter. And by the way, I hear now that he's now well, Schapiro for Shlema. Okay, I thank you, dear Mr. President, for your kind telegram in connection with my recent illness. I think this is when the Rebbe had the heart attack. Your warm expression of concern for my health is deeply appreciated. With the help of God, the healer of all flesh, who works wondrously, my recovery has been most satisfactory. I have already been able to resume my duties. With playful wishes of your continued good health, for success in carrying out the fullest measure, numerous responsibility, which divine providence. Okay, so this is one. Then here, the Rebbe writes to Jimmy Carter, President Carter, Mrs. Schneerson joins me in acknowledging with profound appreciation your warm felicitation on the occasion of our 50th wedding anniversary, and sincerely reciprocate your good wishes. And then the Rebbe gives him a bracha. Now here I want to share with you something talking about President Carter, about President Reagan. I mean, there's so much. There's President Ford over here, and there's President Kennedy and Eisenhower. I mean, there's so much. We won't have time for that. But I do want to share with you this because it is before Pesach. So here I want to say like this. This was written by President Carter and President Reagan. Now this is to Sarah Nemtsov. I am pleased to send you my congratulations as you celebrate your 100th birthday. I hope that the year ahead will be especially happy, and President Carter signs his name. Now, before we go to President Reagan, or we can do President Reagan also, Nancy Reagan, Ronald Reagan, they send also wishes to Mrs. Nemtsov. Now, Mrs. Nemtsov was Rabbi Mindel's mother-in-law. She was the wife of Avram Sender Nemtsov. He's the one who actually stood up the first Yud Shvat, and he announced Shechayonu v'Kimonu v'Giyonu when the Rebbe became a Rebbe in Tovshin Yud Aleph. So she, Mrs. Nemtsov, lived 115 years. She's my wife's grandmother. She's buried next to the Rebbe Tzimchane. As you can see, Rebbe Tzimchane is on the left, and she's on the right, closer to the Ehel. And it says in the Matzeva, whoever goes can see, that she lived Korev close to 110. And the reason that they wrote that is because the Rebbe said that we shouldn't write more than Yosef HaTzadik. I don't know why. So it says that she lived. So President Reagan and President Carter. I mean, but President Carter, he wrote when she became 100, and President Reagan, I think it was later. She was 105. I mean, she was a special lady. She was in her mind 100%. I want to tell you a story about her because it's before Pesach. I don't think we'll have time for the letter from Rabbi Dvorki, but we'll do it in Mitzvah next week in Mitzvah Hashem. They lived in Long Beach with my in-laws. She lived in Long Beach with my in-laws. Erev Pesach, Rabbi and Mrs. Mindel had to go away. They went somewhere for Pesach. So I went to Long Beach, Long Island, to pick her up, to take her to Borough Park, to her nephew, Rabbi Yisrael Friedman, a Choshev Yid, a big mishpacha. And she was there Pesach. She was probably then 107, 108. A few years before, she passed away. About 5 years before she passed away. So I was out of Pesach. It was about 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's an amazing story. I put her she sat down on that table. The table was a very long table. It had a big mishpach, very long table. There was matzah and maror and charosis and everything you need for Pesach. There was a jar of fish that they bought for Pesach. Everything kosher for Pesach. And I sat her down, and she's sitting and looking and looking and looking far. The end of the table, long table. She calls her granddaughter. She was 17 years old. I was standing next to her. She says to her, not her daughter, her granddaughter. She says to her, Miriam, was ist das? She points all the way. What is that? So Miriam says, this is fish for Pesach, kosher Pesach. Good. A few minutes later, she calls her again, Miriam, come here. Was ist das? So Miriam said, this is Pesach fish. Okay, so again, a few minutes later, Miriam, sag mir, was ist das? So what did she do, Miriam? She went all the way to the end of the table, and she took the fish, and said, Baba, I will show you. She took the jar fish, and she gives a look. Not for Passover use. Little words. She didn't see those words. I couldn't see those words. She felt she was a special woman, a special lady. She felt there is something wrong there. I mean, she was a mamish Aisha Tzidkonius. So before Pesach, I just want to share with you the story. These are the wishes that the president wish her Arichas Yomim V'Shonim Tevis. So I wanted to share with you. I mean, there's so much here to share with you. So many peklach that the Rebbe gave to Rabbi Mindel. I don't have time for that. Maybe in the future we'll have programs. So Emir Hashem, next week, I give you my word. I'll share with you the letter that Rabbi Dvorkin wrote, and the Rebbe looked her over. Thank you.